Hey Kate, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Tired. Glad it's Friday.
Oh my gosh, I'm right there with you. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm really excited to ask you all these questions and get to know you a little bit more and get to know more about your process with blush. So for everybody watching, this is Kate. She is one of our blush clients and her coach is Callie, who is the founder of Blush. I just love hearing and talking to Callie's clients. So I'm really, really excited for this interview. So thanks so much for doing it.
No problem.
Okay, so let's just jump right into it. So the first question is, why did you decide to join Blush in the first place? Did you have some sort of like trigger moment or presenting problem? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, so I think I joined in 2014. It was like right when Blush started. I had just graduated college and was just kind of in like a limbo in my life. I had graduated school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was nannying and I was in at the time a relationship that I thought was the best relationship ever, and through Callie realizing like no it wasn't. So just at a weird place in life, and I had seen about Blush on the Betches Instagram, and so I decided to try it out, and I just immediately connected with Callie and felt like I had like seen therapists before but didn't think I needed like therapy more so just like someone to help me figure out my life. And so there it started.
I love that. I think that state, that like quarter life crisis stage that we all talk about all the time is such a crucial
Yeah.
stage to have support and just someone who understands and who gets what you're going through and can kind of help cheerlead you into the life that you've always wanted. So I think that you're the place that you were at before you joined Blush is really the place that a lot of our clients are at before they join. So that's definitely a theme that I've been able to identify with talking to all these clients. So what did you initially hope to get out of Blush when you joined?
I think I just wanted support with figuring things out. I had a difficult time setting boundaries with people and just figuring out what my next steps for my life were. And so I wanted someone to help me figure things out, put boundaries into place, and just like develop my confidence and become like my best version of myself.
Oh, I love that so much. Boundaries are so important. Every single one of Callie's clients that I've talked to, she's like, Callie's the queen of teaching people how to
Yes.
have boundaries, and I just love it so much. It's
I know. We're still working on it 6 years later, like as my life transforms. Like she saw me as, God, how old was I? 22 years old, like fresh out of college, to getting out of that relationship, getting my teaching credential, getting married, having a baby, like all these life changes that she's seen me through, that as I transition, like I need boundaries in new areas. She's really helped me with that.
yes, and I think that's so cool to be, you know, a lot of the times people think they do life coaching for one problem and then it gets solved and then they're done with the process, but it's really such a beautiful process that can go with you through all of these different life stages because new
Yeah.
things pop up in each new thing that you do in life. And so I love that you and Callie have been together in this through so many different experiences through your life. I think that's really special. Okay, next question. What do you like most about Blush?
I like how personalized it is. I can see Callie whenever works in my schedule, as long as, of course, it works with hers. And I felt like she understands it. A lot of times when I would see someone like a therapist before Callie, it would be like a 60-year-old woman who was at just like a different part of life, and that's fine for some people, but for me I needed someone who had just gone through similar things that I went through and who understood it hands on, and I felt like that support really helped. Another thing that I really liked was just it being virtual before all this COVID stuff. Like I was able to move across the country to New York and now back, but I didn't lose Callie in that time. Whereas if I had been seeing someone locally, I would have had to switch. Like it's a consistency in my life through all these years.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the convenience of it all too, with being on your phone and you can literally be wherever and sign in and have a session with
Yeah.
a coach. And I think that makes it a lot more personalized too. And what you mentioned about feeling like Callie got you on such a deeper level because she was also similarly going through the same life stage. I think that that's really an
Yeah.
aspect of this process that just instantly bonds client and coach because it's true, you know, like we are all going through the same thing. So I think it just really creates an extra level of being able to empathize with each other, which I think is really important in this
Yeah.
process. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so how would you describe your relationship with Callie?
I love her. She is my lifeline. I feel like I consider her a friend, even though she's my life coach. We just have a close, I mean, like I said before, she's seen me through so many pieces of life. I really trust her and feel like when I talk to her about things, she's not judging me. She comes from a place of like a neutral understanding, but she's also, I feel like, my biggest cheerleader. When I come to her with a need or an idea for something, I know she's gonna tell me what I need to hear, from a place of tough love, if that's what I need, but also just really support me. And I look forward to like those meetings with her. Like yesterday, I got this really good business idea, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to talk to Callie about it. So, yeah.
I love that. I think that that's what's cool about life coaching too, because you can, it's so personal and it really, like there's no intention with it, but it just forms into like a really beautiful friendship, which I think it's kind of hard to explain unless you're in the process and, you know, doing it. But I think that you just described it beautifully. And I love that so much. So great. So you kind of touched on this a little bit with that last answer, but what role specifically does Callie play in your life? You mentioned a cheerleader, like what else?
Yeah, she's my cheerleader. She's a sounding board for me. She really is just my support through every different thing in my life. Lately, I've had a ton of life changes. Just we lived in New York during the pandemic and we moved back. We just had a baby. So she really, through every single change in my life, has been like my pillar of support. She's consistent for me.
Oh, I love that. Okay, and what benefits have you gotten out of the process so far?
I think the biggest thing for me is self-confidence, and I didn't realize it until I started thinking through this conversation today. Looking back who I was pre-Cali versus now using blush, I've just grown a lot and become more confident in myself and what I believe, and not feeling like I need validation from other people, and just really setting firm in those boundaries with other people, specifically like family members. Um, yeah, it's been really good.
Oh, I love that. That answer gave me the chills because that's what I think everybody can envision what that looks like, but to actually be feeling like you're waking up every day, living your best life, being confident, you know, setting boundaries where you need to. I think it's just so amazing. I love that so much. That's what it's all about, honestly.
Yeah.
That really is. Um, okay, so what are you currently working on?
Right now, we're continuing to work on boundaries now that I have a child, figuring out how to navigate those relationships with friends and family now that I have someone else to care for. Like, it's not just about me anymore. Callie's been really helpful with navigating my marriage changing through a child. And just figuring out working from home has been really difficult. And so Callie's been helpful with setting me up with figuring out how to time manage better, schedule my life out better. So a million things we're working on all the time.
I love that though. It never ends. I always talk about this process
Yes.
being literally a never ending process. And it's always so great to prioritize working on yourself and trying to make sure that everything that you're working on is balanced and flowing and adjusting with life because this year has been a year for everybody. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad that, you know, you've had that support through the craziness of 2020 for sure. Um, okay, who do you think would be a good candidate for blush?
I think everyone needs it. Specifically though, like we talked about, like that quarter life crisis, figuring out your next, people that are figuring out what's next for them. I think a life coach can really help them dive deeper into what they're passionate about, or figure out what they're passionate about, and then figure out next steps for things.
Yeah, and that kind of points to like the action oriented, goal oriented aspect of blush, because it's really cool, because this is y'all's process, right? Like, you guys are the clients, this is your process. Everybody's process looks different, but what's cool is you can come into this process saying, this is what I want to do, and it's very
Yeah.
goal oriented, and you come up with an action plan, and the coach can hold you accountable. So it's just a really, I'm with you. I'm like, everybody should have a life coach. Everybody should be in this process. I actually started with blush like 5 years ago as a client myself. And that's where
Okay.
I fell in love with the process, because I'm like, why is this not a thing that everybody does? Because it really changed my life and helped me in so many ways. So I'm with you. I'm like, everybody needs a life coach.
Yes.
Okay. What is one thing you've learned from the life coaching process? If you could identify like one specific thing.
I think I've learned so much, but just to summarize it, is just like you are the most important part of your life. Like everyone else will always want more from you. Everyone else will always be calling on you to do stuff for them. But unless you're taken care of, like, you can't do anything for anyone else successfully. Again, it just goes back to all of those boundaries in every aspect of life, whether it's family, work, relationships. Um, my biggest thing I've learned is just boundaries and taking care of me.
Yes. I think that we talk all the time about how we start each day with a full cup, and throughout the day you pour a little into your job, your kids, your marriage, your family, errands, a global pandemic, all of these things. And then at the end of the day, your cup is empty, right? And if you're not prioritizing to fill that cup back up, then you're running on empty the next day. So I love that aspect. And I think a lot goes into that too, with self-confidence and self-love and self-care and boundaries, and just really all this self-development work that blush really thrives on. I love that. Okay, last question. What advice would you give to someone who is considering joining blush or just starting out in the process?
I would suggest, if they're considering it, to just do it. If you don't like it, you don't have to stick it out, but you're going to like it. You're going to get a lot out of it. And then my advice for someone just starting out is to go all in. Don't hold back. And it's about you. It's personalized to you. So just be open and honest with your coach about what you're needing from them. And also, I've gotten so lucky with Callie being my coach, but I feel like if there's not a connection with your coach, that's okay. Ask for a different one.
Yes.
Not everyone's going to mesh, and don't let that deter you from using this great service.
Yes, totally. I always say finding exactly what you said about it formulating into a friendship, like, you have to have that connection. You have to feel like they get you. You have to have that potential for a friendship, because I think that makes all the difference in meeting you where you're at in the stage of life. And I agree with you too. Just like going all in, committing to the process. You've signed up, you're here, let's do this.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really, really important. Oh, I love this so much. This like gets me so excited. I just like love to hear these stories. And Callie's amazing. I'm like jealous that she's your life coach. I tell her all the time, I'm like, can you be my life coach? And it's just, I mean, she's amazing. So it was really great to hear about you and your process and your relationship with Callie.
She's the best.
It's so amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much, Cate. I really appreciate your time and you sharing your story. It was so great. And I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.